Welcome to DrivenMavens.com. My name is Arvin. Today's sketch is going to be a little bit more detailed than what I do typically with the Sharpie markers or the Marks-A-Lot markers. I'm going to go a little bit tighter, but I'm going to go tighter on basically just one side of the vehicle. This is going to be somewhat of a forced perspective of the front view. You're going to see a lot of the hood action here, and this is going to be a Mazda 6. I tell you, Mazda is just killing it out there. I think they're just doing a phenomenal job of bringing something to the customers or the consumers with something extra special and emotional. What they're doing right now is they've really done a terrific job of solidifying their brand identity and then taking that across the board through all their vehicles. And this was really starting with the Mazda 6. And I think that after the Mazda 6, most of you have seen the 2014 auto show and you've seen some of the spy shots of the Mazda 3. And what's really awesome about these vehicles is you're seeing this convergence of styling that is proliferating their whole line. So whether it's the Mazda 3 or it's the Mazda 6, Mazda 3 heavily influenced by the Mazda 6. You're going to see that also in the next Miata and also their compact SUV. What they're doing with the Mazda 6, it's incorporating what they call now the Kodo styling, which is the soul of motion. It is really intended to give the styling this sort of energetic feel, so that when you even look at it when it's standing still, there's still some dynamics in play. So it looks just gorgeous. You look at the styling, they've got sharp lines and they've got very emotional or graceful surfaces on the side. Everything seems to have a beautiful purpose to it, and it's also very clean. You don't see a whole lot of details, or I should say that they've got the details in the right locations. One of the things that Mazda was doing was actually taking their Takira or Takari concept. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but if you guys know, you can correct me on the comments or something, no problem. But they took that concept, and I'm really pleased with how they stuck with the concept and were able to make sure that they were getting pretty close to the look of the conceptual design that they had put out. It's actually marvelous, that the conversion, what they've done. So as I progress through this, what I'm doing is basically just setting up lightly sketching in my guidelines. Where are all my, just proportioning out the front hood before I start to go in and start to darken all my lines. So once all that's been done, as you see here, and this is now accelerated, I began probably the first couple minutes in the sketch in real time, and now I've accelerated that by probably around 300%. So what I'm doing is that I'm trying to work, even when I'm sketching, when you watch me sketch, I generally try to speed up my actions and my the sketching in general, because I don't want to labor over something. I want to make sure that I've got a nice, smooth, graceful line, and I want to make sure that I'm continuing on with that. So I'm very careful with trying to stop at a certain point, unless I'm really trying to think about what the surface is doing, and that's fine when you're doing that. When you're trying to create some sort of artwork or sketch work, it's nice to have that fluidity in your sketching, and that's something that's cultivated over time. It doesn't happen very quickly. It takes time for you to develop that, but hopefully as you watch these videos, you'll start to see exactly what's going on and what's happening. A lot of people who sell things on the internet and books and things like that, it's really difficult to see. Books are great to have, but unless you can have supplement the books with the action item, with the videos and things, it's kind of difficult to just learn by just looking at a book and just following the books, because you don't know how that person laid those lines down, and then how they're using or executing that technique. And granted, of course, even if you're not doing that, if you're even if you're watching a video, of course everything looks very easy until you try it and you're like, oh boy, this is much harder than I thought. And it's perfectly normal too. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. But over time, as you start to get used to it, you'll start to see improvement. And as long as you see improvement, that's what really counts. You want to make sure that you're improving. Well, am I better than I was last week? Or am I better than I was 2 weeks ago? So I would encourage you, as you even start drawing, to make sure that you keep some of your drawings so you can kind of look back and say, hey, you know what, I've done pretty good here. Now the next stage is to come in and start adding some shading. Now some of the areas, obviously the fog lamp areas are going to receive the darkest tones. And then you just kind of have to pace yourself a little bit and just try to understand where's the light coming from, and then make sure that you distinguish all those surface transitions, which one's going to have the most light, and just make sure that you have some distinction, because you don't want to shade everything the same color, obviously, right? Alright, so now we got through the grill area, and I'm just starting to shade in through the grill, in between. Then I start to reinforce and emphasize the graphic element with the grill. I'm going to come back and start shading this area, that surface transition here in the hood. And if you're always doubtful, the other thing you should do is just make sure you're sketching a little light. Don't try to go in really heavy-handed, because that's just going to mess you up. Just start sketching light. And because you can always, once you go light, you can always come back and darken your lines. Alright, the next graphical element we've got is just the headlamps, like I'd mentioned there before, or actually I didn't mention that at all, but anyway, you see that I sketched in the headlamps. Okay, and just make sure, again, just have a nice flow to it. Yeah, this is supposed to be a lot of fun. At the beginning, maybe it's not as much fun as you may think, if you feel that your sketches are not coming out as well or anything, but be patient. And I'll be honest, I think that if anybody else has issues or they've got suggestions, go ahead and make a comment. I mean, as long as your people are respectful, not being jerks, you can. I'm pretty open. If anyone knows me or who have come over to my blog or gone on my Facebook fan page, I'm a pretty friendly guy. I'm always open, and we're all here to learn, by the way. I'm also here to learn new things. I look at things and look at new techniques and try to implement them. That's one thing, even if you're in the professional world like I am, and I've been working in the automotive industry as long as I have, you're constantly learning, and you're always going to be a student for life. And sometimes you're just a little bit more ahead than other people because of experience. But once your experience grows, then you're up for the next challenge, and you always want to make sure that you're continuously learning. And learning is a good thing. Learning brings about more ideas. It opens up your mind to the possibilities of other things. And the more you learn, the better off you are, because you never know. You might learn a particular technique that somebody likes, and You just never know. It can always work to your benefit, and you find these happy accidents that happen, and then all of a sudden you've sort of defined your niche and you defined your own technique. We always gravitate toward different techniques. So I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time. DrivenMavens.com. Have a good one.